G'day guys, cod season's over for another year. Today we're just going to do a little recap video of how the season went for myself. You know, it's been a pretty epic season. I spent a lot of time on the water. Just going to run through some of the results I had, some of the places I went, how I caught some of the fish, things I'd change, and most importantly, some of the stuff I've learned from a big season on the water. -3 this morning. Oh, he's behind it. Got him. 105. Yes, come on, come on. Good fish. Just over at 102. Nice little fella. 121. How is it? 29. Yes, come on! Heaviest fish I've ever caught. Yep. 1.5 m, Murray Cod. Worked so hard. This big girl. Oh! 99 centimetres. So firstly, as the season always does, started in December and got straight into it. You know, I moved back inland to Central West New South Wales last year, so I had a full season down here. And basically my goal for the season was to spend as much time out in the water as possible, chasing cod. You know, they're the fish that I love, and I'm just obsessed with catching these things and just everything about them, you know. Straight up in December, the goal was to get down the river and spend a fair bit of time down the river right through summer. You know, growing up I fished a lot of the river and I really enjoy fishing down the river. You know, you don't catch the size of fish down there, but you used to get the numbers and used to be so much fun going down there, you know, walk 10, 15 Ks in a day, just chasing Murray Cod on spinnerbait and mainly on the surf. You know, that's what I really got a buzz out of, getting those fish on the surface. You know, any fish up to sort of 70 centimetres was a good one out there. You know, you did occasionally get your bigger fish, but your main size fish was between that 50 and 70 centimetres. Just so much fun. But unfortunately, you know, went down there a couple of times early December. Went down there for the opening weekend, and I knew we had a bit of a fish kill in our river during winter of last year, but I didn't know how bad it was. And it was, yeah, it was pretty evident once I got down on the river in December. You know, I found a lot of dead cod frames, and the fishing was nothing like what it used to be. You know, we used to be able to go down there and hike to some pretty remote spots. You used to hike 6 to 8 Ks before you'd even have a cast, just to get into these real remote spots. And it was nothing to catch sort of 10 to 20 fish in a day down there, but we went down there and we caught a couple, but it was very tough. So became apparent quickly that the river probably wasn't going to be the place to fish. Unfortunately, you know, I had big plans to fish the river right through the summer and even into the winter, but after a couple of trips down there, you know, I got a couple of fish. I started to focus more on fishing the impoundments around the area. So we've got some good ones. You know, we've got Burrendong, Wyangler. It's not too far to go to Blowering or Burrinjuck, so we're pretty lucky in the Central West. We've got some good waterways. Did have a few trips planned up to Copeton as well. Oh! Oh! My! Oh, there was one just swimming down this way. Oh, he's behind it. Got him. I just seen the tail. Oh, it's not too bad. I'll need those lip grips. I just seen his tail. The white tips on the tail. How good. On the duo,
Dekashin Mushi. Absolutely creamed it. It's awesome.
So December, started fishing Wangler a fair bit, and you know what really worked for me at the start was I was fishing up the arms of the dam. For the people that don't know the dam, it's a massive dam, and there's basically a big main base and 2 river arms. I was fishing the river arms, and all my success was coming on spinnerbaits. So getting that reaction bite, fishing timber mainly, finding that timber and fishing hard. What I'd do is pretty much all through the day, whenever there was light, I'd fish the spinnerbait. And then once it got dark, I'd move more to a swim bait. But I didn't focus too much fishing at night. You know, it was more daytime sessions. The spinnerbaits of choice were either an Assassin or a Bassman in the 1 ounce. One modification that I always do with my spinnerbaits is I'll take, if it's a double Colorado, I'll take the small Colorado off. I always only run a single Colorado on all my spinnerbaits. I just like to do that because I reckon they track better at depth. So if you've got an extra Colorado blade on there, they will sort of track up a bit in the water column. And another reason is they'll sink quicker if you take one of those Colorados off. So I still like, you know, it would sink even quicker if you had a willow blade on there, but I still like to run the Colorado just so I can wind them as slow as possible and get that big thump out of the lure. So all my success on through December, you know, I had some decent trips out there on the dam. I found it hard to stick hooks with fishing the spinnerbaits in trees. You know, I missed a lot of hits. It was sort of probably a 50% hook up to hit ratio. You know, it wasn't great. Oh! Oh! Oh my God, I just missed another one. But the ones that did stick, you know, there was some good ones in there. Got a 99 early on in the season, along with a lot of fish sort of in that 60 to 80 centimetre range. Look at that, genuine 99 centimetres, Murray Cod. No metre, but you can't beat that. We're going to let him go here. And then it come up to 3 days before Christmas. Me, Cars and Greg were out. We went out to Wangler. We had a 3-day trip planned out there. Everything looked good. The weather looked good. Went out there. Cars actually, he banged a 75 and a 99. Cars.
99.
How is it? 99. Yeah, buddy.
What a crack.
Fanny hair in it. And I didn't get a touch for 3 days. So it was great to see him get those fish, but geez, it hurt me not getting a fish for those first 3 days. You know, gave it everything. Fished really hard through the day, and we were fishing to 1 o'clock at night each night. You know, Mark got that 99. I think it was at 12:30 at night. So we were fishing hard and just couldn't get them to stick. You know, I was fishing spinnerbaits and then the swim baits at night and just couldn't get one to stick. So it didn't sit well with me. So we fished up there right through to Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning. The next day was Christmas morning. And I thought, bugger it, like that's what really drives me when I don't get a fish for 3 days like that. It makes me more keen to get back out there and right those wrongs, you know, and really get stuck in and try and break that bad spell that I was going through. So Christmas morning, I was like, bugger it. I could have had a sleep in, woke up with the family and had some bacon, eggs and whatnot. But I set the alarm for 3:30, got up, sent it back out there just to fit a quick morning session in, get there on sunrise and have a couple of hours just to try and get that fish. And sure enough, right at the end, you know, the sun was up in the air, the sun was right up in the sky, and yeah, just probably one of the last trees I was going to fish. I just was bringing the spinnerbait through the tree and actually clipped a log, and just after it clipped the log, bang, got a good hit, and I knew straight away it was a good one. And then I was by myself, so I was going to be in a struggle no matter what. But as soon as I seen him, I caught him for a metre straight away. I knew as soon as I seen him. I probably, in the heat of the moment, I didn't act too well. I was kind of all over the shop. I didn't fight the fish out enough. I was trying to get him in the boat straight away, and it probably wasn't the right way to go about it in hindsight, but you know, in those pressure situations, you just don't know what you're going to do. And I was doing everything to just get that fish in as quick as possible, and I had multiple attempts at getting him in the boat, as you'll see.
Yeah. Yes. Big cod. Meaty cod.
Yeah, he just didn't want to come in, so I ended up having to fight him for a few minutes, and you know, once I got that fish in the boat, that was a great feeling.
Yes, come on! Oh, yes! Oh, it's a big cod. Oh, I've tried so hard for that. Oh my God.
You know, fishing or those 3 days prior to not get a hit, and then to wake up Christmas morning and go, bugger it, I'm going to go back out there and try and get one. And then to have it happen, you know, that's the pinnacle of this type of fishing, you know. That is cod fishing, you know. So many people go out there for days on end and just don't get a fish, and then one bite can just change it, you know. Like, that's a fish of a lifetime. That fish went 105, and man, I was stoked. That was the best Christmas I'll have for a while.
Look at that. Solo, metre 5, Murray Cod. I've worked so hard for this big girl. The last 3 days I haven't caught a fish, but that is anything. I'm so pumped. I've got to get it back. Got a few photos. Hopefully they turned out all right. I don't know. The main thing is getting it back healthy.
Pretty much for the rest of summer, I was just kind of doing the same thing, you know. It was all spinnerbait work. I was just having real good success throwing spinnerbait, so I sort of didn't go away, you know. I'd say for the whole of summer, 95% of my fish would have been on just straight on that 1 ounce spinnerbait. It's a 1 ounce head with 150mm duckfin chat on the rear. Just your normal spinnerbait rig, you know, trail hook on the back. Nothing special, you know, range of colours, purples, reds, pinks, whites, they all worked. But yeah, it was just any spinnerbait in that configuration that I was throwing, I was having great success. You know, I wasn't getting the eats. With a reaction bait, you never do get the eats that you will get with a swim bait or something more natural. It was more of that reaction strike. I don't know if you're pissing the cod off, or if he just comes out and hits it, not knowing what it is, and they don't fully go it. So, you know, when you're fishing a swim bait, a lot of the time the swim bait will actually get inhaled right down the throat because they think it's food. Whereas when you're fishing a reaction bait, like a spinner bait, a lot of the times you'll hook them in the corner of the mouth. So, don't know why that is, but it's definitely noted. They don't seem to swallow the spinner bait as much as what they will swallow a swim bait or something a bit more natural.
I'm rolling out, Ron, hang on. Hey?
That big.
You might be tricking you, Ron. the snag, you got weight. Got his head.
Oh, mid-70s, lovely fish, creamy just on that snag over there and rubbed me back in, but we got over to him and got him out. They're awesome when they get to that size. Get him back in the drink. Nice one there. Cracked that spinnerbait with the duckfin shad attached to it. There we go. First fish on the new Tatula. Swim bait rods, just creamy on that duckfin shad. It's in there, swallowed it. It was actually on a snag and he must have been watching it and come off and creamed it, so good way to start the morning. Get him out. Get that lure out, get the fish back.
So plenty more trips, you know, fishing just the impoundments really. I pretty much gave up on the river, didn't do any river fishing, throwing the spinnerbait around and caught a fair few fish. Then there was another morning I went out with the old man, quick before work session actually, out to the dam and sort of went out there real early, and just as that sun was coming up, just got crunched on the tree. And you know when that big fish hits ya and you swing on him and he just doesn't move, you know it's a good one. And I just got that feeling straight away. I got that straight through the rod from this one, and yeah, caught him for a big one straight away, and he hit the net, and I was like, holy sugar, he's a cracker. And yeah, that one went 111, so kind of out of nowhere. I was having a good run on the fish and hadn't caught a big one for a while, and then that was a great one. So it was just built like a brick shit house, eh? It was so heavy, that fish. I was really struggling to pick him up. You'll actually see in the video, he actually got me a ripper on one of the kicks he kicked, and his spines down the back of him there just got me right down the side of the face and got me a ripper. Actually, I turned up to work and someone had thought I'd been a domestic because I had these bloody cuts down the side of my face. But yeah, that was a pretty epic one.
How's that to start a morning? Pre-work guru, 111, heaviest fish I've ever caught. I just got that spin. We'll get him back. Oh, what a fish. Oh, how good's that? He's a big boy. That's sick.
That was kind of the end of some of that fish, and that was the sort of the transition to where I put the spinnerbait away. Back out to Wyangler, fishing and doing a bit of fishing in the main basin. I'd never really fished the main basin before, but started fishing the main basin because the river arms got really dirty. So wasn't confident up there, but the main basin was still really clear. So started fishing them a bit more and started doing those sort of overnight sessions where I'd leave after work and fish into the night, quick kip on the bank in the swag, and then up again, fish the morning till about 8. And because I don't have to start work till 10, I can quickly send it back to the ramp, send it back home, and get to work before 10. So sort of gives me that flexibility to sort of fish that night, like that prime period, you know, either side of sundown and sun up, which is either side of work. So I started doing that a bit, and that's where the gantrel started really coming into play. So a swim bait, Jakko gantrel. Jakko's got the gigantrel, gantrel, chibitrel, but the gantrel's my favourite. I've got a special way of rigging these up. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the bio, so drop down and check that out. It's just a few things I do to trick them. So I change all my hooks and how I rig them. There's a few different things that I do. So if you want to have a look at that, go check it out. But basically, the gantrel come right into play. Went out there one arvo with Hayden, and in the night, you know, we fished the night, and he got one probably about 70. I remember actually, yeah, he got one that was about 70, and I pulled the camera out to get a photo of it. And went to take the photo, and boom, no SD card. I was like, oh no, no SD card. Could not take a photo. I didn't have another SD card in the boat. I've always got spare SD cards. Some reason, didn't have them. SD card was in the laptop at home, so couldn't get a photo. Had to get the photo on the phone. Being a bit of a photography nut, it really grinds me having to take photos on the phone, but we got that done, and you know, he let that fish go, and as soon as he let that one go, I was like, I can guarantee we are going to get a good fish tonight or tomorrow morning because we don't have an SD card. Sure enough, quick kip on the bank, up the next morning, right on sunrise, gantrel. Next to the boat, I was sort of just daydreaming, looking the other way, and I just had, off a hyper long cast, brought it back, and just sort of had it sit mid-water next to the boat and looked the other way, and just boom, creamed me this thing. Didn't fight hard, but just come straight to the boat on the gantrel, and yeah, 105. So that was kind of out of the blue. Stoked with that one. It was my third metery for the year. First one on the gantrel for the year, and that sort of set the vibe for the rest of autumn. That the kind of autumn bite was all gantrels. You know, it's kind of funny how I followed patterns through the year. It was just all spinnerbaits through summer, a fraction of chatterbaits in there, and then all gantrels throughout autumn. 105. How good's that? Creamy swim bait. It's a big fish. That makes the morning. Oh yeah. See you later. After that, AYC. So we had the AYC Cod Classic that I was filming, and then the week later we had the AYC Yellow Belly round up at Copeton. So both rounds at Copeton. So basically I took the week off work, worked either side with Bruce doing the filming, Bruce from AYC, and Bruce stayed up there the whole week as well, and basically we just fished the whole week between, so the Monday to Friday we just fished hard between the prime bite times at Copeton, trying to crack a good one up there. So I've also got a video about that. If you haven't seen it, I'll drop the link in the bio, so go check that out. It's kind of like a recap video of how we went up there, but basically, you know, the Cod Classic had real bad weather, low pressure system, rain, really windy, and then the day that the Cod Classic finished, I think they only caught like 17 fish in the Cod Classic. We went back out, and you know, my goal for the week was just to try and crack a Copeton metery. You know, I've fished there a lot and just haven't had much success up there. It's been a real tough place for me. I've caught a few fish, but for the amount of time I've spent up there, it's definitely not very good. So I really wanted to crack a metery, and that first night I did just that. We went out, and you know, the confidence was kind of low just because of how poor it fished for the Cod Classic. But we found this bay that had a lot of bait pushing up into it, and it was only a real short bay, like probably about 20 metres across, and either side was sheer rock walls, but where the actual bay went up was a real shallow tapering spot. So it just looked like the perfect area where those cod could really ambush and push the bait up into this shallow point with the barriers either side, those hard, sharp, deep edges either side. The cod could just, in theory, push those bait up into that shallow area and then just ambush them. So that was our theory once we found this spot, and after we had a little bit of a sound around and seen the bait, that lifted the confidence a lot. And basically the first night, I just got absolutely railed by this thing on the gantrel. It was actually that coloured gantrel right there, not that one, the one that caught him's hanging up, because the fish ended up being 121, so it was my first 120, and I was stoked, man. Like it was a cracking fish, eh? The gantrel was so far down him, you know, he wanted it so bad, swallowed it, and just gave me that much curry. I've never had a cod fight like it before, you know. Cod, when we're using the type of gear that we're using, you know, you can overpower a cod pretty easily, but this thing, man, it would have been at least a 5-minute fight. I wish it was in the day and I had the GoPro on, but it was at night, so you can't see it, but God, it gave it to me. I didn't think I was going to get him in, but thankfully we got him in, chucked him on the map, 121, quick few photos and sent him back, and yeah, I was just buzzing off that. You know, the whole week was just great after that. You know, the pressure was off and I could just enjoy it.
121 on that gantrel I prepared before earlier. Oh, it's a beast of a fish, so pumped. We'll get this big girl back. Oh. Oh man, what a fish. Absolute demon. Oh, I'm stoked. Far out. I'm stoked. First 120. Absolutely pumped. Oh, she's a monster. Oh. Oh yes. Fuck yes. Oh, it's so sick.
So after that, we basically just kept fishing and throwing the gantrel around. And yeah, just fishing prime times. It was good. We were just lazy, you know. During the day, we'd sit around at the kiosk, eat good food and drink coffee, and then fish, you know, sundown into sort of 2 hours of dark, and then get up 2 hours before light and fish that sunrise. And interestingly, we caught all our fish that week as the sun was going, well, into the night. They were all night fish, so that was interesting. Normally, you know, you will find that, it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you'll find that the morning session can be more productive, but up there we found the night sessions to be a lot better off. We got 4 fish, so we got that 121, an 86, and then I got a 102, and then on the final night, Brucey got a 95, so he was stoked. We really wanted to get Bruce a fish, and he done it, so he did it.
Second meatery for the week, just over at 102. Cream that gantrel again, absolutely stoked. We'll get him back, pretty happy. Oh, kicking. Oh, there she goes.
On the Jakko Ganderel.
Brucey's done it. He's left it to the last night, but he's done it.
Last night, heading home tomorrow.
Bloody oath, we'll get him back.
Get her back. There you go. You right?
How happy are you?
A whole week, not a bite, and I got one. Pumped.
So that was great, you know, great trip. All fish come on the gantrels, all doing the same thing. All fish come from the exact same bay, that 20-metre stretch. We basically got there, spot locked it in that one bay, and just peppered casts up there. You know, the bait was always there. There was always activity, and we knew the fish were there. The dam was fishing really hard at the time. You know, there was a lot of people there, and there wasn't many fish getting caught. But we just found that really good area. You know, we're sitting in about 5 metres of water, casting them up, casting them into about 3 to 4 metres, and just bringing them in. They were sitting a bit deeper, and yeah, we just worked them out. So that was a great trip. You know, moving on from there, from Cope, you know, got another 2 meteries. You know, I was midway through the season, we were sort of mid-autumn, or end of autumn, and I caught 5 metre fish, and like, I was so stoked with that, but just wanted to keep that run going into winter. You know, winter is, you know, it's kind of known as that big cod time. You know, fishing can be tough in winter, but the hours you put in, you can get rewarded. You know, you might not get as many fish, but when you get them, they're generally good ones. So I was pretty committed to really send it in the winter and just go hard and just keep sort of rolling on from the form that I was in. You know, it was all working out well. But it kind of went through a real sort of slump where the fishing around the area just went real tough there, sort of May, June. I just couldn't get them to bite, you know. Don't know what I was doing wrong, but I went, you know, donut after donut after donut, small fish, donut. I just couldn't work them out until went out to Wyangle with Trav and went for just a morning session, quick morning session, and it was fishing quite well. You know, everyone was sort of getting a few fish here and there, and you know, the gigantrel type of thing, that was the bite. It was a swim bait bite. Out there fishing hard, you know, Trav the week before had done all right, got a few good ones. So the confidence was up, and sort of, you know, we fished the hour before sunrise right through to, you know, 2 hours after, and it was kind of gone. Like that real prime bite time was gone, and we didn't get a touch. So once again, I thought it was going to be another donut trip, but I actually rigged up a duckfin shad before I went, just to try something different. You know, I never, with my duckfin shads, I either fish them always on the back of a chatterbait or on the back of a spinnerbait. But this time I just had an idea of rigging something up a bit different, just straight on a jig head. You know, it's not rocket science, or it's not groundbreaking, just rigging a plastic on a jig head and fishing it like that. But for me it was, you know, I never really do it. I really like to get feedback with the lures I'm using, especially with a plastic on the back of something. You know, you don't get much feedback with a swim bait, like a hard body swim bait. And I was starting to get really used to that swim bait thing, so I thought, righto, I'm going to give this a crack. So I rigged one up, and all I basically done was just put a half-ounce 8.0 jig head through this 200mm duckfin shad, and then sort of like done this dodgy rig with a treble, just sort of tied on that sort of wet under it. It was dodgy as, but I had it rigged up on one of the rods, and once we were out there and at Wyangle, I was out there with Trav, and that bite time had gone, and I thought it was over. The high confidence levels were down. I thought, bugger it, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to try this thing. So, sort of, it would have been under 5 casts into having to cast this thing, just slow winding it back. Got crunched at the boat, and you know, it was only a small fish. It was, I think it was a 75 centimetre cod, but that fish really changed the way I fish winter. Like, that was, looking back on it now, that was the best thing that could have happened, picking that rod up and throwing that plastic, because after I caught that fish, fishing the impoundments, I didn't use another lure. So basically, after that session with Trav at one where I got that fish on the duckfin shad, I went straight into a Murray trip. So it was early July, went straight into a Murray trip with Brucey from AYC, and we went down there, down to fish the Murray. Now, I've never fished the Murray before. I was super keen to get down there. The expectations weren't high because I knew how hard it can be down there. And anytime you go to a new system, it's never easy, you know. To go to a new system and just catch one fish is bloody tough, I reckon. You know, all the dams I've fished, I reckon, catching a Murray cod the first time, I don't think I've done it. So, you know, we had 5 days down there. So I was confident we'd get something, but we didn't, you know. It was a doozy of a trip. We just couldn't get the fish, you know. We got dealt bad conditions. The weather was just putrid. It was 50k winds, rain, low pressure system. It was terrible. And to top it all off, where we were fishing down below Yarrawonga, they were actually releasing an environmental flow. So there was 11,500 megalitres a day of water going through the river. So anyone that knows water flows down that way would know that that's not good. So, you know, just to fish, we had the electric motor on spot lock on full ball just to hold us in position, and we were just drowning batteries like that. So, yeah, we didn't get a hit. We didn't look like catching a fish, but it was great to get down there and just have a bit of a look around. You know, I can't wait to get back down there and fish it, try and plan it a bit better where I go down where the flows are a bit better, probably a bit earlier in the season, sort of May, June, before they do those environmental flows, and give it another crack, because the water down there, it just looks unbelievable. I've got to get back down there and have a win after having a big loss, but still a great trip. You know, we had a lot of fun, a lot of things went wrong, a lot of laughs. I'll show you a bit of a clip. But yeah, come back after that disappointment from down, well, not disappointment, but not catching a fish down the Murray, and just wanted to get stuck into it. You know, it was mid-July, and coming towards the end of cod season, I basically tied on the duckfin shad and didn't take it off. So this is the duckfin shad that I come up with after fishing it. I threw it a couple more times at Wangler and caught a couple more fish on it, nothing big. And then after that, I was like, right, I've got to work out how I'm going to rig these properly. So what I did is I got a TT half-ounce jig head. I think they're called swim locks, don't quote me on it. But basically, it's got an attachment underneath. And what I do is I get some 80-pound just fluorocarbon and crimp it onto there, and then crimp a 1/0 size treble at the other end. So basically, I've got the top of the jig head, and I've also got the treble at the back. So that's how I was rigging them, and just basically, yeah, I couldn't stop catching fish on this thing. It was unbelievable. Started fishing Blowering a bit, and Wyangler and Burrendong. Between the three dams, in a month, I caught 5 fish over a metre, and I don't know how many underneath, but there was a lot of fish caught between me and the old man and a couple other guys. Yeah, we just slayed them. I couldn't believe it. You know, everywhere seemed like Copeton started to turn on. Mulwala was fishing great. Sort of everywhere was fishing good in July for Murray Cod. And yeah, it wasn't just the one waterway. We were fishing multiple waterways and just having great success on this thing. So I don't know if it was the lure I was using. You know, I could have thrown a gantrel around and had the same results, but I was just that confident on this thing. You know, the fish were eating it. I didn't have a hit with this where I didn't hook up. Every fish was like just wanted it. They was deep down. You know, that treble was getting them right on the back of the tongue most times. Incredible. You know, I didn't get a lot of footage of any of the fish, purely because 99% of the fish that we caught were actually at night. So that was the biggest key. I was doing that thing where I'd finish work, send it to the dam and fish through the night, and then send it back, and really just focusing hard on those short, sharp sessions. I think that was one of the biggest things about the success I had through that month period, where, you know, we didn't have a donut in about 15 trips, I reckon. We just kept catching fish, and it was unreal. And I put it down to sending it out there, you know, not taking any beers on the boat. You know, we'd leave the beers in the car for after the session, but just getting out to the dam and having that 3 to 4 hour session where you were just switched on the whole time. You know, you were in the zone and you were fishing hard. You know, we weren't there just on the beers, throwing casts around willy-nilly. It was sort of, we were focused, we were putting the casts where they need to be, and we were just timing it right. You know, I'd really study, you know, the weather patterns and what was going on, and make sure I was out there at the times I reckon was going to give me the best chance to get those fish. You know, having a flexible job allowed me to sort of fish around the best times. And, you know, any time when we got good weather come through, we'd go out every night. So, like 3 to 4 nights straight, you know, you might have to drive an hour and a half to get there, and then an hour and a half to get back, and you'd be buggered the next day. But the results we were getting warranted putting that effort in, so it was pretty awesome. So that was that lure.
He good fish. He going back in the shallows too.
Oh my. Let him swim off on the bank.
Oh,
Wait up.
he good fish. Good.
Just hold it for 2 seconds.
Come up here, Chris.
Wait up.
He good fish. What are you doing?
Go.
Why?
That's pretty cool.
Thanks, mate.
How good's that?
How's that? It's been a good night so far, and that just tops it off. Massive fish, 107. Absolute cracker. Get the big girl back. Have a go at her. She's a pearler. Look at that. You ready? How good's that? So that kind of wrapped up the season. You know, the back end of August, I struggled again. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the fish went off the bite or if I didn't fish as much, but I just couldn't get. I probably had about 4 or 5 trips there, and I only got 1 fish in those 4 or 5 trips towards the end. So it was a tough end of the season. But that month period of just crazy fishing, that was unreal. So yeah, you know, making this video, sort of just wanted to go through that, talk about what I did. You know, a lot of people ask me, like, what do you do at this time and why do you fish that and what, so I thought I'd just make this and hopefully you guys can get something out of it. You know, I don't want it to sound like I'm going out there and catching fish every session, because I certainly do not. Murray cod fishing is, you know, it's the toughest form of fishing there is, I reckon. Definitely inland, for inland species. You know, you're not going to go out there and catch 4 and 5 Murray cod in a trip, you know, very often. Like, they're sort of once a year type things, I reckon, especially in impoundments, that is. You know, rivers are a different thing, but when you're targeting those big fish in impoundments, you're really focusing on that one bite. And yeah, once you get that bite, you need to make it count. So being focused out there, you know, fishing at night in the middle of winter, -degree temperatures, it's not easy, so you've got to be prepared. Get yourself set up properly, have the right kit, because you're going to be cold. If you're cold, you're not going to fish properly. And just, yeah, get into it. But don't think that it's easy. Like, I've had some good results, but I'm pretty sure I would have had more donuts this season than trips where I caught something, if that makes sense. You know, I'd guesstimate that I would have caught between 50 and 70 Murray cod this year, which is not massive numbers, but they were, you know, 95% of those were in the impoundments. So, you know, previous years fishing the rivers where you can catch 20 fish in a session, you know, you can blow those numbers away, but you're catching fish that are sort of 50 to 60 centimetres, you know, 99% of the time. This, out in the dams, you know, might have caught 60 cod, but 10 of them were over a metre and another handful in the 90s. So you're always a lot better chance at catching a big Murray cod in an impoundment, I reckon, especially when you upgrade your gear and you're using that type of stuff that really targets those big fish. So big swim baits, big spinner baits, fishing in big fish areas, you know, fishing banks that have bait on them. You know, I think it's
kind of cool to look at the shift over the season for myself, to look at how I went from fishing spinnerbaits purely on trees. I was only focused on timber structure and doing really well on that through the summer, fishing deeper, probably 5 to 7 metres of water. Moving into autumn, fishing the gantrel, probably moving up to sort of that 3 to 5 metres of water as those cod push up as the water temps start to cool. And then into winter, where I was just fishing just the plastic, the duckfin shad, and fishing still around that 3 to 5 metres of water, but not fishing structure at all. I was fishing, you'd look at the bank and you'd think, what is he doing there? You know, people that the guys that target these big cod, they know. But, you know, a lot of people sort of still think that Murray cod only live near structure. They don't. You know, we're starting to learn a lot about these fish. We still don't know everything. We never will know everything, and we're learning every season, but it's becoming quite apparent to myself that these fish move a lot in impoundments, and they will herd up bait. And if you can find bait and where the bait is, there's a lot better chance that these big Murray cod are going to be around that bait. So work at them. They're quite pelagic in a way, if you get what I mean. Just quickly run through the setups that I use. You know, Dialer helped me out, so use pretty much Tatchler rods all season. I had the previous model up until these come out in May, so these are the new Tatchler swim bait rods. Done a review on these, I'll leave a link in the bio. Tatchler HD reels, so they're 200 size. Bloody love them. This is the old model. Got a couple of the old models, that's all I use. They're just so good. Good drag, good smooth drag on them. And yeah, never let me down, so that's what I run. On all my combos I run 50-pound J-braid and 60-pound leader, so that's J-thread leader. Been using that recently, really like it. Ties good knots. For 60-pound line it can be hard to tie knots sometimes. This stuff, real good, so been using that. Oh, forgot to say, I did get one. I found this lure up at Copeton when I was up there for the Cod Classic and whatnot, and it was floating. It was stuck in a tree, just floating, and it was completely green with slime. The hooks had rusted off it. It was in shambles, but seen a guy, can't remember who it was, but seen a guy say that found lures have good luck, bring good luck. And ever since then, I've sort of run off that motto. So took it home, gave it a good spruce up, put some new hooks on it, and yeah, got a 96 out at Wyandotte on that. So forgot to mention that one. I did get a few fish on hard bodies between sort of that gantrel, duckfin shad phase, but nothing. I got that 96, but nothing else to sort of write home about.
Looking at some of the sides there, Ron, some things you got like.
Yep.
I'm a long way out. Hang on.
Oh, he's taking some drag. Oh, he's a good fish.
Let him have a head.
Oh, he's not a metre, but he's pushing 90, I reckon. Lift up. Woo! Yes.
There we go. What a start, 96 on a hard body. An orgy plough that I found at Copeton 2 months ago. Always keep found lures, put some new hooks on it, and that's the result. We'll get him back.
Oh, I can hardly see him. You alright?
Look at that.
Wishing goodbye. Pat his forehead.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm on him. Riffs away.
How good's that?
That kind of wraps up, guys. If you've got any questions, just like I sort of went over this real quick, so maybe just drop some questions down below and I'll answer them. Yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, do all that thing, helps the channel. Got a lot of stuff in the works for this YouTube, so yeah, any support you guys can give me, yeah, do it. But yeah, that's cod season, you know, epic. Ended up landing 10 fish over the metre, which is, you know, I couldn't have dreamt of anything like that happening before the season started. Just, yeah, pretty bloody lucky to be able to go out as much as I do and target them as much as I do. But yeah, it's not easy. You know, I worked hard for it. There's a lot of time on the water, a lot of time between fish, a lot of trips where you don't catch anything, you don't get a hit. But they're the type of trips that really, they really get me going. You know, going out fishing for Murray cod and not catching a fish makes me keener to go the next day than what it does if I go out there and brain them. So it's just the thrill of the chase with these fish. You know, you got to keep hustling, and then once you do get that fish, you appreciate it that much more. You know, you're never going to appreciate something that you don't work hard for. And when you work bloody hard for cod sometimes, and you get that big one at the end of it, you really appreciate it. All right, guys, cheers for watching. Looking forward to the next season. Let's go.